rereading this, and I have a bookmark in there. That's where my other bookmark went. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's going to be the first episode in a new series that I'm doing on my channel called Books and Bangers. My best friend helped me come up with the name idea, so hopefully, it goes with it. But basically what this series is where I take specific bands and albums of theirs and pair songs up with specific books that I've read that I think really fit the vibe of the song, as well as the vibe of the band as well. So the first band that I'm going to be doing is Sleep Token, my favorite band. I have seen them now twice. Yeah, I've seen them twice, 3 times. I've seen them 3 times. And they're my favorite band. Me and my husband both really love Sleep Token. It's his favorite band. We have accumulated so much different merch, and they're my top band, so I figured it'd be the perfect band to start with to do this series. So I would like to also preface that there will be spoilers for these specific books, as some of them are out of series orders, or they're in the middle of the series. So I will be putting up a list of all of the books that I will be talking about, so you can choose to click away if you don't want to be spoiled by any of these, because I do think that some of these will have some pretty big spoilers, so I just don't want anybody to be upset if they're spoiled if it's a book that they have been wanting to read. Of this video will be specifically for their first album, which is Sundowning. The first one will be A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and the song that I'm choosing for it is Give. Very sensual song. It was our first wedding dance song when me and my husband got married. It is a wonderful song. But some of the lyrics that really resonate with this book specifically is, you take the dark and cave me out a home, picture you when you're all alone, I know how we got here, I know how we got here. And if any of you guys have read this, Rhysand knew he was looking for Feyre. He didn't technically know who Feyre was, but he kept seeing visions of her and having dreams of her, and he was looking for her, hence there you are, I've been looking for you. So I kind of thought that fit really well. The other set of lyrics that really resonate with A Court of Mist and Fury is, if you want to give, then give me all that you can give, all of your darkest impulses, and if you want to give me anything, then give in again. And basically it's just the whole relationship of Feyre and Rhysand. They're very much so a give to each other. They're slowly giving pieces of themselves to each other, as Rhysand is slowly peeling back Feyre's levels of trauma that she had to experience during A Court of Thorns and Roses, and they're just slowly just giving more and more of themselves to each other, and they're learning more about each other. And again, I think it just really embodies their relationship really well, because they're just constantly giving more and more to each other without losing themselves. The other set of lyrics is, I will be watching for your enemies to let them know that they contend with me. I want to know you're out there. And this lyric really resonated in the fact that Feyre she very much so becomes an equal to Rhysand, since she ends up getting all the court's powers. I think there's 7. And she becomes powerful, and she becomes Rhysand's mate, and she doesn't just become his mate, she becomes the first High Lady of the Night Court. But just basically that she is an equal of his, and that if anybody wants to come and get Feyre back, because everybody thinks that Rhysand stole her, that they're more than welcome to. But Feyre is one powerful person, and they probably won't win, and they don't. The next book that I'm doing is, the next song that I'm doing is Sugar, and for this one I chose The Ballad of Never After, which is the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and this one involves Jax, who is the Prince of Hearts, who is from the Caraval series, which is up on my shelf up there, and Evangeline, who we met in the first book. And, you know, this book is a little intense, or not intense, but this book is insane. It goes all over the place. It's such a fun ride. I still haven't read the third one, which again is a freaking shame. But, and so this one is basically after the events of the first one ends, Evangeline finds a new curse, and she ends up having to work with the Prince of Hearts again, even though she doesn't want to. Elle ends up getting cast on Apollo to basically kill Evangeline, and so she has to team up with Jax again, against her better judgment, because she kind of really wants Jax out of her life. But I don't think she really wants Jax out of her life. Like, they're very much so connected. And the reason why I chose Sugar for this book is the first set of lyrics is, you play a twisted little game, but I know in a way you need to complicate. Believe that though we never eat, we still know how to feed. And this just reminds me of this. Jax is constantly playing a game. It's constantly a game, and you never know what is going on, and Evangeline never knows what's going on, and she just wants straight answers, and she just wants to, find how to fix this, and Jax is just constantly bringing Evangeline into this game that he's playing, and that was very much so also the first book. And then the other next set of lyrics is, Sugar, I've developed a taste for you, because Jax, he becomes attached to Evangeline, and he can't let her go, and he develops a taste for her. And at the end of this book, there is Evangeline ends up getting killed by Chaos at the end of this book, and Jax says one of the best lines, which is, there is nothing of equal value to me, and he's talking about Evangeline, and any person who's read this knows that Jax, Prince of Hearts, he can't love. That's kind of his whole curse thing. He becomes very attached to Evangeline, and he ended up, the part of this book is that he wanted to use one of the, stone gates and, basically go back in time and fix the events that happened in the Caraval series between him and Tella, and he ends up using that and going back and saving Evangeline before she dies, but she doesn't remember who he is or anything like that. So that's the cliffhanger that it ended on for this book. But yeah, he basically used what he was working for the entire book just to save Evangeline, because he developed a taste for her. And then the other one is, do you want to see how far it goes? Do you want to test me now, my love? You must be crazy if you think that I will give in so easily. Things we buried low, coming to the surface now, my love. You must be crazy if you think that I will give up the game. And again, this is just Jax. He's not going to give up on Evangeline, and he's going to keep following her, and not like a creepy, stalky way or anything, but he's going to keep basically, he's developed a taste for her, and so he's basically, he won't let Evangeline get away that easily, and so he's, again, the beginning, because he comes into the second book pretty quickly, and it's, again, Evangeline must be freaking crazy if she thinks that she can get rid of the Prince of Hearts so easily. So, yeah, Ballad of Never After. The next one that I'm going to do is The Offering, and the book that I chose for this one is Belladonna, and this book is basically Signa. If she touches people, they die, and she becomes very upset with death and how just everybody around her keep dying. She became an orphan because her parents died on their estate, and she's just been filtering through family after family, and they all are just dying around her, and she becomes very angry with death, and she basically eats belladonna. Yeah, she eats these berries that basically bring her on the cusp of death, and she talks to death, and she's like, why is everybody around me dying? It intertwines with her living with another family member, and she also becomes entwined with death, and it's a really good love story. There's also a mystery. It is a young adult, but the reason why I chose this book for The Offering is and you are a garden entwined with all, you are the silence on sacred shores, you've got diamonds for teeth, my love, so take a bite of me just once, I want to turn the page once again. And this just reminded me of the death when her parents died, Death went to go collect all the people who drank the poisoned, something was poisoned that they all consumed, and because Signa was a baby and she had, her mother had breastfed her, he went to go collect Signa, with her mom's spirit, and when Death went to go reach for Signa, he, instead of seeing a person's past, he saw a future, and he saw a future of him dancing with Signa. And this just, he's, ever since then, he has been really intrigued by Signa, and I think that's why Death is constantly following her. But he just wants to, he just slowly becomes wanting to be more and more involved in her world, and so does she. So Take a Bite of Me, Just Once I Want to Turn the Page Again, is that he's also really intrigued by the fact that it's the first person that he's ever been able to see a future. He's able to see forward instead of back, and so that's something very different for him. And then the next set is Turn the Page Once Again, Give In Again, and Let Me Lay My Arms Belong Around You. And it's just that, Death and Signa, they, end up becoming a thing, and they are very much so together. And because Signa can't really die, and she's one of the people who she kills people by their touch. She can touch Death freely, and they become entwined, and they belong around each other. Hence the My Arms Belong Around You. So yeah, Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. That one. The next one that I don't have a physical copy because I don't have one, but I will put a cover up on the screen for you guys, and it is Aries, which is the first book in the Guardians of Hades series by Felicity Heaton, and for this one I chose the song Mine. My favorite, this is my most favorite Sleep Token song. It has a very almost possessive undertone. The first set of, so the premise of this book is that basically this is a series, I think, of now 9 or 10 books, and each of these books up until I think the 7th one follow the sons of Hades and Persephone. And the first book follows Ares, which he's not actually Ares, he just got his name from Ares, and he each of these sons have basically been cast off. They've been cast to live on Earth and basically protect these different gates of where demons and other types of creatures can come out. And the reason for that is because there was a really big war that happened before the first book came out, and that's where Hades was like, my sons need to go and protect these gates to make sure that we don't have another uprising like we did before. So the first person that we're following is Ares, and not the whole thing, but he is, of course, he has fire. That's like his power. That's what he can do. But this has made it to where he can't touch anybody. So he's been living on Earth for like hundreds of years, and he hasn't had any physical contact with anybody. And the only way that he can is if he has like gloves, and the only person he can touch is his other brother who has like ice powers because they balance each other out. But even then, he can only put his hand on him for so long. And then this book dives into Ares basically gets attacked, and when a girl, a young woman, ends up getting caught in the crossfire, and it ends up turning into where she is the first person that he can have direct contact with. So kind of a little bit of that forbidden love, and it's a underrated, in my opinion. It's a really good, the whole series is really good. The fact that it's the first person that he's able to in hundreds of years have just any type of, that he can just give a hug to. The first set of lyrics from Mine is, I have waited paralyzed by my own will, viciously reminding me still I'm born to believe that you and I are crashing course driven by a holy force. I know you can see that you will be mine. And again, this is just an example of how they just crashed courses. They literally fell into each other by circumstance, and paralyzed by my own will, viciously reminding me still, just reminds me of how Ares is constantly being reminded of how he can't have direct contact with other people. But of course, he crashes course with somebody who he can, and that alters kind of where he goes. The other one is, we balance fire in the earth we walk, will never stop me reaching forth to see you again. And this reminded me of the book because there is a point in the book where they have to separate because, of course, she's, doesn't belong in this world. Like, he's supposed to be protecting these gates, and of course, he's also, what if he ends up, the reason why he can touch her is because he ends up losing his power, like his power gets stolen by the person who attacked him. And so there's a conversation of like, well, when I do get my powers back, because that's what he's trying to do, is hunt down that person, I won't be able to touch you again. But he's like, they're constantly still reaching towards each other. It's a really cute love story. It was wholesome. There's also a lot of action. There is spice for it, but if you're interested, I would definitely recommend checking out the whole series. It's really cute. And again, it's Hades, Persephone, and their sons. It's a little bit of a twist, and I really liked it. So yeah, High Water, and I'm going to be doing Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. And this one is the second book, but it's following Celaena Sardothien after she won the King's Assassin, after she ended up battling in a competition against a bunch of other people. And she in the first one, obviously, we learned a lot more, but this one, it's following her after that of being the King's Assassin, you know, her going after people and who she's, you know, killing. And there's also a relationship that's blooming between her and Chaol, and also there's Dorian, and she's just trying to, and Nehemia, and she's just trying to navigate life living in the palace. And there's secrets that come about, because if anybody's read the series, you know what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of things that she discovers in the palace, and there's a lot of secrets that start to come around. Major spoiler here, but you know, Celaena Sardothien is Aelin Galathynius. And so she's actually the lost queen of Terrasen after Terrasen was, you know, invaded and stuff like that. So first set of lyrics is for the time being. I will still avoid my own questions, and we will both bury that history deep, but you know I can hold my breath forever. And that just reminded me of Celaena knows who she is, and she's constantly fighting she doesn't want to be the queen of Terrasen. She doesn't want to do any of this. Like, she doesn't want to do she just wants to, you know, live her life, and she wants to run. So she's avoiding all of these duties and the questions, and if she's going to rise up. And she's also, in this, she's just human, but she's actually fighting off her Fae heritage because she is a Fae. But she's just constantly bearing it deep, deep down inside of. The other set of lyrics is, you are still a perfect reminder of what all of these scars on my arms are for. And that just reminds me of, even though Celaena won the tournament and she became the King's Assassin for the King of Ardalan, she is a constant reminder of how the king took down Terrasen, and how she has scars on her back, but how all the things that he's making her do is just a reminder of what he did to her land and her parents, and all the awful things that he did. And I just think that is a really good, it's just a perfect reminder for her for all that she's lost, and how even though she does these things for the king, and she acts like she, like, you know, she has to act like she likes him a little bit, but she like despises him. And then the other one, and I choke myself on sacred vapor, waiting on some holy favor, basking in the solace of regret, and it seems my hell is your high water. Wash me clean again before I pull myself beneath the waves. And this reminded me of when Chaol he messed up, and he ended up getting Nehemia killed. And it reminded me in the sense that Chaol thought he was doing the right thing, and it ended up not being the right thing. And so his high water of, you know, doing the right thing became Celaena's hell of losing her best friend, of somebody that she was close to and cared very deeply about. And she just almost kills Chaol, and it just is a really big turning point for them. And the other one is, when the mouth of infinity buries its teeth in me, I'll smile through the agony for you, and I know you still bear the weight of your own existence. And again, this one just reminds me of how she's just having to constantly hide who she is, and having to constantly do these horrible things of killing these people, and doing the king's dirty work. Again, a relationship blossoms between her and Chaol, and how he doesn't like the Fae because of how he was grown up. He thinks that they're like a problem. He just is smiling through it, and she's a Fae, like, and she's hiding that from him constantly. But she really cares for him, and so she's and the I know you still bear the weight of your own existence just reminds me of Chaol. He's also like kind of dealing with these prejudices that he has against Fae, and so. So the next one I think was my favorite one to do, and this one is The Love That You Want. And for this song I chose A Court of Silver Flames, and I know that a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to say on the fence, but there's a very divided feeling about A Court of Silver Flames because it is Miss Nesta's book, which I love Nesta. She's me and her are very much so a kindred. I have a very big kindred spirit with Nesta. This book, it follows Nesta after they win the war against Hybern, and Nesta and Elaine and Feyre and everybody else killed. It was actually Elaine who killed the king, but it's following Nesta and dealing with the trauma of being forced into the cauldron and becoming Fae against her will, and also dealing with the powers that she took from the cauldron. And she's just there. There's a lot of mental health struggles that go into this. There's a lot. She is doing a lot of self destruction, and her and Cassian, it's their book too, and she's constantly just pushing Cassian away because she doesn't think that she deserves him, and Cassian's just constantly like trying to help her to be better and find her place in this new world, in her new body. And it's just, there's action and obviously there's spice and stuff, but I also feel like this is a really big character study about Nesta. I think that this book is beautiful and I really, really enjoy it. But The Love That You Want, there's a few sets of lyrics that I chose for this one, but you lie an inch apart on your own continuum. Now keep the freak show talk to a careful minimum. I'll find a different harbor to lay my anchor in. And this just reminds me of how Nesta is very shut in. She is not talking about how she's feeling to anybody, and she's constantly having to deal with how she's feeling. Like, for instance, every time she hears a fire crackling, it reminds her of her father's neck snapping when the King of Hybern killed him. I'll find a different harbor to lay my anchor in reminds me of Cassian just constantly trying to find a new way to reach Nesta and to let him know that he's there. Hence, I think it also goes really well with the quote, keep reaching out your hand, because again, he just keeps finding different ways to get in and to help her without prying, because he knows that she needs somebody there. And then the second set of lyrics is, and you'll find a different way to keep from setting sail again, but I'm still full of the love you want, still waking up beneath it all, and I'm still full of the love you want, I reach for you on faith alone. And again, this is just Cassian just constantly saying that he will keep reaching out for her, that he will, even if one way doesn't work, he's going to keep trying to find another way and another way and another way, and that he will still be there no matter how bad she treats him. Because again, I think that I'm not saying this is an excuse, but any person who has dealt with PTSD and trauma and stuff, they push people away because a lot of times they feel they don't deserve it, or they don't deserve that love or that person, and that's very much so what she's doing. And Cassian is just constantly saying like, no, I'm have the love that you so desperately want and that you need, and I'm that person for you, and I'm just going to keep waiting for you and reaching my hand out for when you're ready to take it. And it's so sweet. And then the next one is it seems your heart is locked up and I still get the combination wrong. Again, just Cassian constantly trying to find different ways to reach Nesta after each attempt fails and goes missing. The other one is too many swallowed keys will make you bleed internally someday. Maybe you believe that in the end you will be better off that way. And again, that just goes back to some of the things that Nesta is dealing with in this book, is that she thinks that it's better off that way, that she doesn't see where she can fit in with the inner circle, and she doesn't see how she can have a home in Valeris, and she doesn't fit in with Feyre and Elaine anymore, even Elaine, and she was really close with Elaine, and that really hurts her. But she feels that she just is hard. She is filled with so much anger and hurt and grief, and she just feels that it's better for her just to be on this self-sabotaging, destructive path. Really thinks that it's better off that way, but it's not. Then the last set of lyrics for this one is, I'm still full of the love you want, still waking up so alone, and I'll be full of the love you want no matter what forevermore. And again, it's just Cassian. It just really reminds me of almost like a love letter that Cassian would write to Nesta, because he's just saying that he'll be there for her when she's there, even after so many failed attempts and her just being really mean to him, and throwing away his presents that he gets her, and just just constantly fighting against him, which I think she needed a little bit more of tough love. And but she's not a great character at the beginning, but I think that a lot of it, she ends up becoming such a good character. But again, it's just Cassian just knowing that he, that's his mate, and that he's constantly going to be there because he knows that she's hurting, and it's just so sweet. And so, yeah, Court of Silver Flames and The Love That You Want. First Crescent City book, which I have this really pretty Barnes & Noble exclusive paperback edition. So this is the first book in, this is House of Earth and Blood, and this is the first book in the Crescent City series. The third book just came out today, so it's been kind of a big deal. But like I said, for this one, Chokehold is the one that I chose, and the first set of lyrics that really coincide with this book is, when we were made, it was no accident. We were tangled up like branches in a flood. I come as a blade, a sacred guardian, so you keep me sharp and test my worth in blood. So the first part of that really reminds me of Hunt and Bryce, and how their stories become interwoven with Danica's death, and how he ends up coming back to help her kind of solve the mystery of what happened. And then the other part of that is that you keep me sharp and test my worth in blood. I think that really it reminded me of Hunt. It reminded me of Hunt basically having to work for Micah, and the angels, and basically he's having to repay back him leading the rebellion. And it reminds me of just the debt that he now has to pay off by killing people that he sends him to kill off, that he doesn't want to kill, but again, that's kind of his sentence. And he has the the crown of thorns tattooed around his head, to show that he's enslaved. He's a servant for him. So that was one of the ones. The other set is, I've seen my days unfold, done the impossible. I turned my walls to gold to bring you home again. And that just reminds me of Bryce basically doing all that she can to figure out what happened to Danica, and just to, obviously she can't bring Danica back, but she just is doing everything she can. It's really a horrendous thing that happened to her best friend. The last set is, oh, and though we act out of our holy duty to be constantly awake, you've got me in a chokehold. And this is basically, this reminded me of Hunt. He's working for Micah to replace, for Micah. I'm gonna pronounce that way. But how he's a servant for Micah, and, killing off these people. He's the Umbra Mortis for him. But he's really fighting against that because he's met Bryce, and they're really becoming a thing, and Bryce has really gotten him in a chokehold, and, showing him that there's a different way to live, and that there's more to living, which Hunt already knew that, but he just, meeting Bryce kind of made him really not want to be doing what he's doing anymore, and really want to fight back again. So yeah, that was Chokehold, and that was House of Earth and Blood. And I chose better is House of Sky and Breath, which is the second Crescent City book by Sarah J. Maas. And again, I also have the really pretty, oh, it got bent, the really pretty Barnes & Noble paperback exclusive edition. And for this one, the first set of lyrics that really went with it, that reminded me of this book, is a taste of the divine. You've got my body, flesh and bone, the sky above, the earth below. Raise me up again, take me past the edge. I want to see the other side. So this just reminded me, again, it's the sky above, the earth below, because the first one was House of Earth and Blood, and this one is House of Sky and Breath. And it, for me, that kind of showed there's a really distinct line in the Crescent City world between people who are in the different quarters, and I also really think that this is just Hunt really, it reminded me of Hunt really just wanting to, move forward with Bryce, and he wants to, they just want to move forward, and he wants Bryce to, they want to see a better world and fight for that, and they know that everything that's happening in their world is not really what they're led to believe from the beginning, and so they're just really fighting to just see the other side, which in my opinion is a better world. And then the last book that I have is, we're going to be covering the song Granite, and it is The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. And this is the second book in the Prison Healer trilogy, a fantastic trilogy, might I add. It is one of my favorites. It is a perfect trilogy if you want it. There's romance, there's no spice, which again is fine, but there's no spice, but there's romance, and there's mystery, and there's deception, and there's action, and there's magic, and there's found family, and there's just a lot of twists and turns, and There's also a tournament in the first one, or like a trials. But this book, basically, major spoilers for this book too, because the first book of Prison Healer ends on kind of a really big cliffhanger, and so this one follows after Kiva, or yeah, I think that's how you pronounce her name, how Kiva, she ends up winning the trials, and her and Jaren, and one of the other, because Jaren ends up actually being a prince, because he went into the prison from the first one as like undercover, and his name is Tip, not Kip. But anyways, Kip, which is like a younger boy that Kiva ends up taking on in the prison, they all escape together, and they basically travel back to Jaren's kingdom. But Kiva ends up being like the lost daughter of basically Jaren's enemy, and she's keeping this a secret, and she meeting back up with her brother and sister, who have basically sworn they're basically trying to take Jaren and his parents and his kingdom down. And so Kiva ends up working with her brother and sister, and because Jaren trusts her to basically just get in from the inside, and this is a really good continuation. I was more than just a body in your passenger seat. You were more than just someone I was destined to meet. I mean, Kiva didn't make Jaren go into the prison, but it doesn't end up that Kiva is just somebody that Jaren was supposed to save. It's like now Kiva has a way in to basically avenge the death of her father and what was taken from her, and that she's just more than just some person, some healer that was in the prison. And then the next one is, between the secondhand smoke and the glass on the street, you gave me nothing whatsoever but a reason to leave. You say you want me, but you know I'm not what you need. And this is just that Kiva is also really fighting because she really cares for Jaren, and she's having a lot of conflicting emotions because her sister Lika is trying really hard to just make Kiva just like constantly infiltrate Jaren and his kingdom, and she really cares for them, and she like finds out they're really not that bad, that has every reason to leave, but she wants to stay, but she knows that also like it's that she's not who Jaren needs, and Jaren is developing feelings for Kiva. And then the next one is, if you had a problem, then you should have told me before you started getting all aggressive and controlling. I mean, Kiva doesn't get aggressive and controlling, but this plays into the third book a little bit too, is that if she just would have, again, it's tricky because like she thinks that as soon as she's going to tell Jaren that, she's there to basically take him down, that and who she is, that he's gonna like totally like push her out, and this ends up kind of clashing in a huge way when Zulika comes and attacks Jaren, and then he finds out who Kiva is and her relationship to her brother and sister. The whole time, if she just would have been honest with Jaren and Kalden, which is his cousin, and with everybody, like his bodyguard Nari and Tip and everybody, like they would have helped her, and they could have, like, she would have gotten help. But so yeah, that was The Gilded Cage for Granite. So yeah, that was my first episode in the Books and Bangers series. If you guys have any suggestions for bands or songs or anything to do next time, then let me know. But I really hope you enjoyed this different type of video, and hopefully I, picked good books and songs, and hopefully, yeah, I just hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will hopefully see you guys really soon. Bye!